The Lesson by Sarah Ann Barnett. Cronulla 2230. Narrated by Chloe Schwank. The billionaire Duke of Westminster was once asked if he could offer any advice to young entrepreneurs. "Make sure they have an ancestor who was a very close friend of William the Conqueror," he replied. Few of us have ancestors that can reach across the centuries to gift us a continuous inheritance of privilege. A DNA test tells me I am mostly British, but also Scandinavian. Given that generations of our family rarely moved from a part of Britain once known as the Danelaw, and both of my grandmothers bore Viking-suffixed surnames, Bealby and Umpleby, this is no surprise. Our only connection with the Conqueror may have been the harrowing of the North. But while my ancestors stayed firmly put, my father has itchy feet. Courtesy of the RAF, he has seen the world and convinces my reluctant mother to leave family behind and emigrate to Australia, away from the freezing weather and the class restraints of northern England. My parents give me a loving, if frugal, childhood. Australia certainly offers opportunities, but it's years before we reach the standard of living we leave behind, and it takes its toll on their marriage. There will be no siblings, and there are no grandparents, uncles, aunts, and cousins. Just the three of us. It's a solitary childhood at home, but friends abound, and outdoors is our playground. It makes me a happy, if reserved, child. I love school, and once my impenetrable Yorkshire accent disappears, the teachers realise I'm not altogether stupid. It's even better in my teens. Surfing, the Beatles, counterculture. The 60s are full of promise and change, and we are in a hurry to make our mark. I leave home at 18 to study. I meet the man I want to spend my life with, and I do. And just like that, we are having a baby as we turn 20. Parenthood makes me grow up. My beautiful girl Amy is such a joy and gives me the sense of family I have missed all through my life. I know nothing of babies, but she teaches me. I am never envious of my friends who vow to remain child-free so they can travel the world, and they do. 3 more wonderful children arrive, and we balance a busy family with our teaching careers and further study. The death of my mother is not unexpected after years of ill health, but it is sudden enough to shock. Officially, the cause of death is a heart attack, but I know it's a broken heart that takes her too soon. She dies on the anniversary of the day we left England, a life in 2 almost equal halves. Dad and I take her ashes home to Yorkshire, not the trip she would have planned. It's the first time I've returned, and despite being told it is a mean and pinched country, full of unadventurous folk, I find the people warm and friendly, and the land feels reassuringly right. It's hard to explain, so I will respectfully borrow a phrase. I feel like I'm on country. As an only child, I mourn alone, and my grief is just starting to abate when my father remarries. After one of his now frequent trips to England, he announces he is marrying my mother's niece, one of those cousins I never got to know. But I have seen her frequently because she is the flower girl in my parents' wedding portrait. I wonder what Mum would think. My children marry and make me a grandmother of 5 granddaughters. Amidst the mayhem and the dancing, they grow to be young women. The years pass quickly. At first, retirement is a relief from alarms and bells, and we make plans for our golden years. 2020 arrives with a sting. Pandemic. Like everyone, we adjust to the new normal as best we can. Then, in the middle of lockdown, Amy tells us the news that she has a mass on one kidney. She's a health worker and thinks it will be dealt with fairly easily, but that is not to be. There is no good news after that, and while she tells us never to say she fought a battle, she is brave and positive in the face of death, and does her best to help us through what is a family's worst nightmare. In February 2023, my beautiful girl slips away on the saddest of sad days. We gather on our balcony a couple of hours later and toast her memory with her favorite bubbles. A huge orange moon rises, and there is a glittering golden trail on the ocean. I think it's her path to the stars. We are stardust, aren't we? Many friends have kind words, and some have nothing to say. A grief counselor comments on the symmetry of being with her for her birth and death, and nothing could be less helpful. My neighbor who lost her daughter reaches out and doesn't need to say much. She knows. At a Thanksgiving service for organ donors, we run into an old friend who lost her mother young, and she tells my granddaughters they will never get over it, but they'll find ways to live with it. She speaks at the service about her experience as a cornea recipient. In another grim symmetry, Amy was an eye donor. It is a grueling day. What makes us? Time and chance, people and place, being alive for a blink of time in a universe of endless possibilities. We constantly shape-shift and reinvent ourselves. But duke or peasant, rich or poor, nothing changes us more than the death of a child, the inversion of the natural order. Amy's legacy was her love of family and never holding back from life, something I try and fail to do, but I keep trying in her memory. All life is a lesson, and the hardest lesson of all is grief. The end.